today we're going to talk about the Meals module inside of Fundly CRM version 1. The Meals module is a custom module that allows users to plan and record the delivery of meals or food items to clients or program participants. The Meals module has 5 main areas. 3 of those are front-end areas that are used in the planning and tracking of the meal delivery. Those 3 areas are client intake, where you actually set up contacts as meal delivery clients and indicate that they're eligible for this service. The second is the meal planner, where you actually indicate what food items will be available to each day, delivery day, and which clients will get which food items. So you plan out the actual meals that will be delivered. And the third front-end area is the delivery planner, where you then plan out the delivery routes and who the volunteers are who will be delivering the food and to which clients they are assigned. The 2 back-end pieces are the volunteer area, where you actually indicate who is a volunteer delivery driver. Some of our clients call those delivery drivers delivery angels. Some just call them volunteer drivers or delivery drivers or meal drivers or whatever. But that is configured within the volunteer management area, where you will actually assign your volunteers to this opportunity. And then the last piece are all of the meal module configurations. These are all of the drop-down items that populate the drop-down lists, such as client diagnoses, reasons for completing the program or stopping service, the list of supplemental products that they can receive, the list of food items that they can receive, etc. For this training, we're going to start by going through the front-end pieces first, so the actual setting up of a client as a client, and then scheduling and delivering a meal to that client. I find that if we start with the configurations first and do all of the configurations, we're kind of down in the weeds, and if you don't really understand the big picture of what all those configurations are for, that it becomes a little more complicated to understand. So I like to start with the front end pieces, so we'll actually go through sort of the big picture first, and then on the second half of the training we will go into the configurations and all those setup pieces. So to start, the first area we're going to go through is client intake. So this is where we're actually going to set up clients or contacts as clients for meal delivery. We're going to go into our contacts. We could go to individuals or organizations. I'm going to focus on individuals today. And you can do this for a new contact. If you were adding a brand new contact to your system, you'd go over here to the plus and you'd add a contact record and you'd fill out their personal info and hit save, and then you'd get some tabs that open up. Or you can edit an existing record and assign them the contact type client. And that is how you make somebody a client for the meal delivery module, is you assign them the contact type client. Now right here I'm going to go into contact types and select client to show you a list of people in my database who are already assigned that contact type. And I have 4. And this little knife and fork indicates that they are a meal delivery planner client. So these people have their intake completed and they can be scheduled to receive deliveries of food. I'm going to go back to all, and I'm going to find an existing contact in my system, and I'm going to make them a client. And as I said, I could do this by adding a new person from scratch, but just to save a little bit of time here, I'm going to pick an existing person. Now we've got Alex McCullough here. Looks like a good candidate. So I'm going to click the edit button here, and I'm going to go into Alex's record. Now if you were adding a new record, what you would need to do is you'd fill out this first tab, this personal info, and you'd go in and you'd put in their name, and you could put in any relationships and their communication preferences and their email and their phone and their address and their demographic info and all this other additional information. Now, very important when you're setting somebody up as a client is you must fill out an address. When we get to the client intake tab for the meal delivery, you'll see that you have the option to add their mailing address and their delivery address. But you cannot actually add a new address. You can't type in an address on those fields. You can only select from addresses that are already listed here on the Personal Info tab. So you must fill out the addresses here on the Personal Info tab, and then you can select them on the Client Delivery tab. So Alex here doesn't have any addresses. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add an address. Now, I can select a type of address that's already existing. If you wish to add or customize this list, perhaps add one that is delivery address, you can do that. I'm going to cancel out of here. Under Configurations, Address Type. And this is where you could add additional items to that drop-down list of address types. I'm going to go back in here, and let's see, I'm going to give Alex a home address of, let's see, let's try, and I'm going to verify and save, because I have an address verification on my demo system here, so this is what this is. So it's saying it's not finding it in the post office database because I just made that address up. And then we'll save that. So now Alex has an address here. And now I'm going to save this record to save that change. Okay, I think it already saved. Possibly is giving me validation. I'm just going to, yeah. When you go to save, if you don't get, see, now I'm not, it should be popping up with a, yeah, so here we go. These are all things in my demo system here. These would not be in your own system. So if you don't get the little spinny wheel after you click save and a green message that says save successfully, then that means you're getting a validation error somewhere on your screen, and you need to hunt that down and find out what you missed. So now, to make this person a client, under Contact Types, we're going to select the Client type. And now it opens up a new tab for us, Client, and we can go into this tab now to fill out their information for this meal delivery planning client. It's going to ask us when we want to start delivering meals to this person. I'm going to say start delivering. I could backdate this. I could say as of today if I wanted to. Actually, maybe they just became a client today. Check-in date, if you have a mandatory check-in that you need to check on like their progress or do like a status update, what is that date? I think 6 weeks is standard, but that will vary per your organization and whatever your standard is. If you know ahead of time the end date, if this person has a like a prescription for a set number of weeks, you can enter the end date, or if the end date will be determined at a future date, you can leave this blank. Number of servings per household, so how many servings of meals should they get? One serving for themselves, and then if there's any caretakers, they may have another, so they may actually get 2 servings, or if it's a couple, or whatever. So we're going to say for Alex here, he's all by himself, just 1 serving. This is the delivery schedule. Which days does this person receive food? This will very much depend on your organization. Some organizations only deliver once a week on a set day, like all deliveries are on Mondays. And in my demo system, that's actually how I have this configured, is I only deliver to clients once a week on Mondays. You can indicate a liaison here. So this is who on your staff is the liaison to this contact if you use staff liaisons. Under the History tab, you can see the history of liaisons who have been assigned. So if this person had Sally was the liaison, and then Sally left your organization, and then you assigned Mary, you'd be able to see that whole list that, Sally was the liaison for the first few weeks, and now Mary's the liaison, and when those dates changed. Referral source, so how did this person get referred to your organization? Doctor's office, social worker, these are configured in my system. This drop-down will be configured in your system for your referral needs. This is one of those things that you can change or add additional options on the configurations that we'll talk about towards the end of the webinar. You can indicate any dietary restrictions this person has other than the ones that you can select from this pre-configured list. And again, this pre-configured list is configurable on the configurations, the meal configurations menu. And I'll show you that's here on meal. You're going to see all of these like dietary restrictions, the closure reason, etc. So all of these different options here are the configurations. Here under referral, you can actually click the little plus button to add additional ones. Same with dietary restrictions. You can hit the plus button. You'll get the list of items that are already configured, and you can add additional items to this list as well. Delivery instructions, so it could be something like, really loudly because the bell is broken. You know, it could be go up the exterior stairs to the second floor, could be use the side door, you know, whatever. Any additional notes on this client, any supplemental products that they should receive. Again, these are configured on the meals module configurations. So I could indicate, you know, maybe this person gets the Iron Booster brownie, sorry, and the calcium milkshake. And then I can indicate a diagnosis. And again, I can add additional diagnoses to this on the meal menu configurations. Here under we have diagnosis, we have the supplemental products, so you can add all of, you can configure those drop downs and add additional items here. This meal delivery, this is a view-only module. This will show the meals that this client is scheduled to receive. Alex is brand new. We haven't finished his intake yet, so we haven't scheduled him for any meals, but once we do, they will show up here. We can indicate dates to be skipped. So if Alex is supposed to get meals every Monday for the month of December, except maybe December 26th. Maybe he's traveling and he's out of town and he's visiting family for the holidays and he won't be home that week, and so we could indicate skip his meal on that day and don't deliver to him. And we can put the date and we can put the reason why we want to skip. Now we can also, if we forget or don't know to configure it here when we're setting Alex up, you can indicate these dates when you're actually doing the delivery planning. You'll get a list of clients and there actually is a button, which I'll show you, that says skip the delivery on this date. So you do have two different places where you can indicate that skip. And then the delivery address and the mailing address. And again, when I pick this, you're going to see that I can only pick from a pre-configured list. I can't add anything from here. So this must be on the personal info tab first. So now I can pick his address and I can save that. I could add the mailing address here if I wanted to, and now I'm going to save. And now Alex is set up as a meal delivery planning client. And I can't uncheck this box. You'll notice he is now a client until I put an end date, and then he'll become an ex-client once that date has passed. So now we've got some clients, so now I've got 5 whole clients in my system. And now we can move on to the second area. And then so these client configurations are kind of ongoing as new clients come in, as clients rotate out of service because of the end date comes. It could be because they don't need the service anymore, or they can't afford it, or they've moved, or they've gone into hospice, or they've passed away, or whatever the reason. We can indicate this end date and make them an ex-client. And so this is an ongoing, this client intake piece, ongoing maintenance of your client records. So this piece is sort of always happening. So the next piece is the meal planning, and this we're going to find under the meal module tab, and we've got meal planning. And meal planning actually is sort of a two-step process because there's two pieces. There's configure package and there's meal planner. Configuring package, and package is not really the right word. I kind of don't like this language. But the packages basically are what are the foods that are available every delivery date. So I deliver on Monday, so every Monday, what foods are going to be available to my clients? And I need to configure this first because on the meal planner, I then can select from the foods available which foods each client is going to get, because not every client is going to get everything that's available. Some have dietary restrictions. If I have 2 or 3 different entrees available on one day, they're probably only getting one entree, and then maybe a side dish, etc. So we're first going to configure package, and we're going to set up what are the foods that are available each day. Now this and the meal planner is somewhat labor intensive, so I do encourage you to do this in as far as advanced as you can. As soon as you know what foods you're going to be preparing for any given delivery date, have whoever is in charge of this piece make sure they're in there configuring this. Because until these packages are configured, you can't plan the meals, what foods each client is going to get, and until you configure the meals, you can't configure the delivery routes and who's actually delivering the foods. So this is a configure package and the meal planner. Do those as far in advance as you can, because if you're trying to do these on the day of delivery and then you're also trying to like print out the labels and the letters and get everything ready for when your delivery angels show up to pick up their packages of, you know, food items to go out, it's way too much to try to do at the last minute. So you're on configure package. Here's a list of my existing packages. I've already configured packages for all of the Mondays in December. If I want to, I can click on any one of these and it's going to show me. So available on 12/5 was some meatloaf and a garden salad with cherry tomatoes and southwestern black bean soup and apple pie. And then these were the instructions that were given to the recipients. So should they eat this item first, meaning it's sort of perishable and you want to eat it right away, or does it freeze well, meaning they can save it, put it in their freezer and eat it at another date if they can't get to it today. I can go in and edit any of these if I need to. So this one, these are in the future. I could go in and edit any of these if I wanted to make changes. And if I want to add a new, and then you'll notice also I should mention that it defaults to the current month. I could do last month or next month. If I change that to next month, I don't have anything that configured yet. If I want to add a new package or new list of foods that will be available on a particular delivery date, I can do that by clicking the plus sign. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick the date. I've got all my December dates already configured, so I'm actually going to pick January 2nd. I'm going to give this package, it says the package name, and what you're going to do is you need to select from the pre-existing, you need to give it a name first, which is the name of the food item that you're going to have. So I think I have, let's see. So I've got some mac and cheese configured in here, and then we're going to go and we're going to add that to our list of food items that will be available. And if I've got a recipe for that, I can go ahead and add the recipe. So my recipes are in categories, so I believe my mac and cheese, and here it is, macaroni and cheese. And then I just need to remind myself what's in my demo system, so I could add that salad. And which soups do I have? Do I have a... Okay, chicken noodle. All right, so we're going to have, also then, we're going to do some chicken noodle soup. And I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to add that recipe. Soup. Chicken noodle. And then close. Now you can add more than one food item to each of these packages. I'm not really sure how that would play out inside your organization. I mean, you could maybe, if you're doing something like bread and butter, you know, and bread had one recipe, like you were doing a certain type of bread that you've made, like wheat bread or white bread, and then you have butter, and then you could configure a package that is bread and butter, which pulls the bread recipe and then your standard butter. But you could call butter an other item as well and throw in some packets of butter if you wanted to. Because the thing is, if you configure this as one package with two different items, if I put chicken noodle soup and bread together here, I can't, when I get to individual clients, leave part of the package out. They only can get the whole thing. And so if somebody has a gluten allergy, they can't get the chicken noodle soup because I've also added the bread to that package. So it's better to keep these all as separate items and make each one just one discrete item. Add that, and then I'm going to add this recipe. So I could keep going, and then let's see. That was a salad. Yes, and then let's throw in a dessert. We've got pecan pie bars. Okay, so we'll add this. Now, each of these items, you'll notice these recipes are already pre-configured under my configurations. And so we're going to go for, that was a dessert, pecan pie. So you'll notice that these need to be pre-configured, these recipes. These are configured on your meals module here, recipes, and this is where you'd go and set these up. So you first need to set up the recipes, and then you can go in and configure your packages, and then you can configure your meal planner. So once I've got for this particular date all the items that are going to be available to my clients, I can also indicate which of these freeze well by selecting this, and I can indicate if you should eat this item first. So I could say mac and cheese, and this also freezes well. They probably should eat their salad first, though I'm a big fan of advocating to eat dessert first. And then I could edit this. I could delete if I made a mistake and go, oh, Sugar Monkeys, this is not going to be available this day. I can take it out and delete it. Now I can also, my other items that I have configured, those other items that you saw me picking. Okay. Sorry, actually, no, those were supplemental items. These are other items, or just like I said, like if you are throwing in like bread. These are just miscellaneous items that you do not already have configured in your system. That apparently is not a true. I don't know why it's not. This should be pulling up my other items. Come back to that in a second. But I should be able to configure other items that will be available on this date. So then once I've got this set up for every single date, now I can go through and I can do my meal planner. So we're going to go to the meal planner. And then these are the delivery dates that I already have configured. Again, I can click on one and see the list of clients that are scheduled to receive food items on that date. And I can view the supplemental products that they're going to receive and the food items that they're going to get. So if I click on that magnifying glass, Abby is getting mac and cheese, pear and gorgonzola salad, pecan bars, and southwestern black bean soup. And she gets 2 servings per household because it's herself and a caregiver. Adelaide, on the other hand, is going to get the mac and cheese, the pecan bars, and the southwestern black bean soup. So Adelaide is not getting the salad, and Adelaide only gets 1 serving per household, per her household. And then Adriana is going to get the mac and cheese, the salad, the pecan bars, and the black bean soup, and there's only 1 serving of each for her household. So now, if I want to set up another meal for another date, so for instance, I've only got 12/12 and 12/5 here, so I can go in, I can click the plus button, and I could do 12/19, which is next week, so I'm going to select the date. This is going to retrieve the list of clients who are scheduled to receive delivery on that date. You'll notice Alex is in here because we added Alex, and we said he was starting service as of today, so, and no end date, so next week he's still eligible. So I've got these clients in here, and it's going to give me a list of every item that I put when I configured my meal planner. If I go to January 2nd, which is the meal planner we just did, or the package configurations we just did, here's the food items that I had set up: mac and cheese, chicken noodle soup, pear and gorgonzola salad, and the pecan pie bars. Pecan pie bars. It's harder to say than it sounds. So I'm going to go back to the 19th. So these were previously, prior to this webinar, I configured these items, and I added other item, fruit salad. And these are my supplemental products that were pre-configured, again, here under the meals module, supplemental products. So now what I need to do is go through a list of all of my clients who are scheduled to receive item food for that day, or scheduled to have a delivery on 12/19, and pick them and pick which items each person's going to get. If this client had any dietary restrictions, they would show up here. Thought I put, okay, I didn't give anybody any dietary restrictions, but if they did, that would show up here. And also, when I configured the recipes for these food items, you can indicate if they're not good for people with certain dietary restrictions. And if that person had a dietary restriction, you would not be able to select this food item that contravenes their food restriction. So for instance, if Abby had a gluten restriction and I indicate that the apple pie, because there's flour in the crust, is not good for people with a gluten sensitivity, I would not be able to select apple pie for Abby, and the fact that she has a gluten free diet or gluten restriction would show up here. So I'm going to pick Abby. Abby's going to get everything. She's getting 2 servings of everything. She's also going to get this other item, fruit salad, that I had previously configured. And then does she get any supplemental products? Now, if I had indicated on her client intake, on her contact record, a list of supplemental products she should get, they would be pre-selected. Otherwise, I can opt to give her things, even if they're not mandated as part of her regimen, but I could opt to give her additional items here. And then I'm going to save and add new, which will let me select that. It'll save Abby's settings and let me select the next client on the list. And you'll notice Abby now has a green line. That means Abby is configured for her meal planner for this date, and I don't need to do Abby. So now I'm going to do Adelaide. And I'm going to go through and pick, and Adelaide's going to give everything. Maybe Adelaide doesn't want apple pie for whatever reason, so we won't give her apple pie, but she gets everything else. And she doesn't get any supplemental items, so I'm going to save Adelaide. And now and you'll notice Adelaide is now green as well. We'll go to Alex. Now you'll see on Alex's intake, when we did the intake, I'd indicated that Alex should get the calcium milkshake weekly. And you'll notice it is pre-selected. So now, I did indicate that Alex had a dietary restriction. I don't know why that is not showing up here. Oh, this is the other dietary restrictions. This isn't the primary dietary restrictions, which are configured here. There was a box on the client intake where you can manually type in other instructions about dietary restrictions. So there's 2 types of dietary restrictions. There's the pre-configured drop-down list where you can put in like food allergies, and then any other dietary restrictions. These are basically instructions to you, but this box does not interact with the packages. You'll notice though that I did indicate that Alex had an allergy. I think I did pick gluten when I did that intake, and you'll notice that the spinach bites are not available now because I indicated when I set up that recipe, were no good for people with a gluten sensitivity. And now you can't even select it. It's not even here on the list. So that's how those dietary restrictions work. So I'm going to give Alex everything else, and he gets the calcium, and I could opt to give him this iron booster brownie if I wanted to. And I'm going to save and add next. And then Alex is green, and the only one left is Adriana. So we'll go into Adriana, and we'll give her everything as well. And she also gets a calcium milkshake. And then we will save. I could save and add new or save and close. And then you'll notice everybody's green, so everybody has been configured for this date. And so now I can save and close. Cancel just means close without saving. So actually I've already saved, so I'll have cancel. And then now I've got my 1219. And you'll notice this is listed in reverse chronological order. So the newest date is here, and I can see all my clients. I can edit or delete any of these clients out from delivery, and I can view what they're going to get. So now that's my meal planner. So again, first you have to set up your recipes. Usually once you set up the recipes, you're probably not adding a lot of new recipes, so that's a configuration that you do kind of once at the beginning. But then you have to configure your packages. That is ongoing work because you have to configure what foods are available for every delivery date. And so unless you're planning that a year in advance, that's kind of ongoing maintenance work that you'll need to do in your system. And then once you configure what foods are available, you have to set up the meal planner for each client for each date. So this is also ongoing work. And as you can see, as I said, it's a little bit labor intensive because you got to set those packages, then do the meal planner. You want to do these 2 pieces as far in advance as you possibly can. As soon as you know what foods will be available each date, go in and configure those. So now the third front-end piece for actual, delivery of product or service to clients is the delivery planner. And this is where you're actually going to plan the routes. So you've planned the foodstuffs. Now you're going to assign volunteer delivery angels or volunteer delivery drivers to clients and say, you deliver to these 3 people, and person B, you deliver these 3 clients and deliver their meals. So here on the delivery planner, we've got 2 tabs. The history shows the past configured deliveries, and you can see the clients who were scheduled. So Abby Normal and Adriana Leaf. And you can see here that Abby goes till the end of the month. Adriana has no end date and their contact info if it's in the system. And these people were scheduled to get meals. Container pickup is after they've eaten the food and they've got the empty containers. If you schedule drivers to go back and pick those up when somebody's like completed service, then that will be indicated here under the clients for container pickup. And then here I can see who the delivery angels were. So these are my volunteers or my delivery angels, and then I can see their route color, who they were assigned to, and I can see that email that is sent to them confirming these are the clients you're delivering to and this is the date and whatnot. And I can trigger another copy of that email. So if for some reason you find that that email does not go out, you can resend it from here, from this history screen. Now to configure new deliveries going forward, I can go to Configure Deliveries. I'm going to pick my delivery date. So let's do the 19th, which is we just did the meal planning for. Once I pick that, I'm going to get a list of all my clients who are scheduled and have a meal planned for that day. I can see the angel history. This is who has previously delivered to this person. So 2 different volunteers have previously delivered to this person. Adelaide has only had A. Jones and only had 1 delivery. Adriana has had 2 deliveries, but she's had the same person. She's been part of the same route. And so this is if you want to have continuity, and have the same person kind of delivering to the same people because they know the house and they know the location and they know the delivery instructions, then you can kind of see that information here. You can go in and edit this delivery address if you need to right from here. And this is where you can skip delivery. So this is the second place. So if you didn't do it on the client intake and you get to this point, you don't have to cancel out of here and go all the way back to the contact and add that skip date. You can just pick right here to skip this person. Now you have 2 tabs here, active clients, completed clients, or any clients who have finished service. And I could look and see if I've got anybody. And click that to see who has finished service, because these are the people that I could schedule for container pickup. And I don't have anybody in my demo system. No, I don't have anybody, but if I did, then I could assign them for container pickup for completed clients. So I just have active clients right now. I don't have anybody who needs containers picked up. So now after I've double checked that I want to deliver to all these people, I'm going to go to next step. And here is where I'm actually going to configure my groups. So these angels are configured on my volunteer management, which I'll show you in a little bit. That's one of those back-end configurations. So these people were already set up as delivery angels or delivery drivers in my system by assigning them to the Delivery Angel Volunteer Opportunity in the Volunteer module. And they will automatically pre-populate into here if they're scheduled to work on this particular day. And I'm using sort of air quotes around the word work, or volunteer will be available to deliver on this day. Then they will automatically show up here. I can manually select additional angels if I had any other angels in my system. I don't think that I do. Yeah, otherwise I would pick off this list and then click the plus sign and it'll add the person to this list. So if they weren't scheduled to work, but then it turns out they're available and they're like, hey, I can come in if you need me to, I could select them off the list of Delivery Angel volunteers and manually add them to the list by selecting from this drop-down and then clicking the plus. So now what I'm going to do is, before I can do anything here, I actually have to configure the groups. And configure the groups means configure my routes, basically, and group my clients together into delivery routes, and then assign those routes to these delivery angels. So I'm going to go into Configure Groups. And this is going to open up a pin map of all of the clients that are scheduled. So I had 4 clients who were scheduled. There was Adelaide, Alex, Abby, and I forget the 4th person now. So this pin map's going to work for a little while. It takes a little while for it to load. This takes a couple minutes for these pins all to drop up. Sometimes you have to zoom in and out to, there we go. So it landed me up here, but my people are actually down here. Now I should have 4 pins. Why am I missing a pin? I think one person is, oh yeah, and one person's way over here. So sometimes you got to zoom in and out to see everything, and you got to move around to see what's going on. If I click on any of these pins, I can assign them to a different route. So the system will try to be clever and try to come up with natural routes for you. So I have 4 volunteers, so it's giving me 4 routes. But one person could deliver to these 3 people. Maybe I'll make those 2 one routes. So if I click on this little pin, I'm going to get a list of pins here. And again, now I gotta zoom in and out. And now if I click on that again, there we go. Now I can actually see the pin. So sometimes you got to play with this map. And so I can change the color by clicking on any of these pin heads. So the other one was red, so I could pick it on red. Now apparently these there's no difference between pins of the same color that have a stem and don't have a stem. They are the same. However, the P makes a difference. The P means container pickup. So this is a closed or past client who you now need to go and pick up the containers from. So this was orange. I have now assigned it to be red. So these 2 are now in the same group. And then I can close this. And then so I could click on any of these and I could change the root colors if I needed to and assign them to different groupings as it makes sense. So now I've got 3. I've got 2 red people, 1 black one, and 1 blue one. Once I am happy with my routes and everything is grouped into sensible routes and I have equal number of routes as to volunteers, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click Confirm Groups. And then once it's saved, I can close this. And now I will be able to select from here and assign each of these volunteers. And you'll notice as I hover over them, it gives me any of their preferences if they have any. But now I can go in and select. So I only had, that's weird. Okay, so the blue and red. Why am I not getting black? Weird. Okay, wait a minute. Let's go back in. I'm pretty sure I had 3 groups. Why is it only showing me 2? Yeah, you are black. Okay. Not sure why that black one's not coming up. Make sure he's blue. Okay, confirm groups. Try this again. I don't know why my black one is not coming up. I'd have to check into that. There's something weird with my black group, and I'm not sure what it is. Let's see. What if I make you green? Alex. There's something wrong with Alex, this 4 Mitchell Drive, which I completely made up. It might be because it's a made-up address and it's having problems with it, but I'm not really sure why it doesn't like his address and it's not allowing me to assign any of my delivery angels. But normally there would be 1 group for each color, and then once we did that, we would be able to, oh, now it's popping up. For some reason it didn't like that black pen. I don't know why it didn't like that. But anyways, so now I can go in. So A. Jones here is going to get the blue group. A. Multi-C will get the green group. Adam will get the red group. And then B. Williams either gets nobody, he's not assigned, or he can be backup for any of these people in case he'll be sort of on call in case any of these people no show, or I could say he's not assigned. So then I can also indicate how these angels should get their instructions. So send them their instructions by email. So these 3 people who are assigned are going to get an email. And I need to check this box because when I get to send email, if this is not checked, it won't pull these people in to send them the email. Now you'll notice up here, if I had any clients who were not assigned, it would indicate that. And I'd need to go back into configure groups and assign them a pin color. And then if I had any assigned clients for for pickup, who I hadn't assigned yet, it would show 1, and then it would show if I had any pickups assigned here as well. So pay attention to these numbers. They change dynamically depending on what you do inside the configure groups. Once you've got everything set here, we can save and go to the next step. Save would just save the screen, and then you could close and cancel out and come back later if you needed to. Now, here on Special Notes, you can configure this email that will go to your delivery angels or your delivery drivers and give them their instructions. So there's a pre-configured template here. You can customize this, change this any way that you need to, and you can preview it if you want to and see how it's going to look. So here's the name of your group, which is basically going to be your pin color, and then they're going to get an email that has all of the specifications. And so you can also indicate your sender email, so your email address that this is coming from. And then once you like the email, you can go to the next step. And finally here on send email, so everybody that I had selected to get an email on that configure group step are now listed, so only 3 of my 4 angels, because the 4th one who was not assigned, I did not click that send email box, so he's not pulled into here. And now here's the status, and if I hit email, this will then send this, and this will change to processing, and then once it's been delivered, it will change to, I think, completed or delivered or something like that, and you'll be able to see that they got the email. So that is configuring the deliveries. So then we can exit out of here. And as I said, so on a previous date here, I could go into this, and right here I could see the clients and their angels, and so Adelaide got skipped on this particular date, and then I could go in and I could look at the routes and how they're configured and see the entire information. And then again, clients for meal delivery, this is where I could go in and I could verify any of this information. Okay, so now that's pretty much the front end process, all the front end pieces. The client intake, the meal planner, which consists of pre-configuring recipes, pre-configuring packages, and then doing what food items each client's going to get on each delivery date that they're scheduled for, and then finally the delivery planner where you actually plan the routes and which volunteers are going to deliver to whom. So now let's switch gears and talk about the configuration pieces. So the back-end configuration pieces. To assign our delivery angels or to assign volunteers to be delivery angels, we do that from the volunteer management piece. And we're going to go into Manage Volunteers. And this will give us a list of all of our volunteer opportunities, or basically the activities that volunteers do for us, or job descriptions. And in your system, you should have one called Delivery Angel, and this is attached to the meal module. Any contacts you assign to this as a volunteer will then show up inside your meal module as a Delivery Angel. If we want to add volunteers to this, we can do that by clicking on this plus button right here. Or we can go into the total volunteers and we could add volunteers from here. So under Manage Volunteers, so that's not a plus, that's a check mark. We can go in and we can now choose a volunteer from contacts that are within our system. So you need to go in to your system and contacts and make sure you've added this person as a volunteer there. Let's see. I think. All right, so here's one, Bob Superior, so I'm going to pick Bob off the list here. And then you're going to pick the venue. This is a required field. It's going to be pre-configured from however your delivery angel is set up. It may have a venue, it may not. Then which shift, if you have more than one shift, maybe you do some deliveries in the morning, some in the afternoon. So if you have more than one shift, you'd pick which shift, then position, delivery angel, and then you are going to pick which dates that this volunteer, so Bob, when is Bob available? So Bob, my deliveries are only on Monday, so Bob has to be available on Monday, so that's not going to work out. But I could pick select dates. So if Bob's not available every Monday, but only like the first Monday of the month, I could go in and pick those particular dates. But he's available every Monday. When is he going to start volunteering for me? So maybe he's starting as of today, and I could go until next year, or if he's only available for 6 weeks to help me out or whatever, so I can put his end date, and then when does his shift, his availability for shift time start. You know, again, maybe if I did morning deliveries and afternoon deliveries, maybe Bob can only do morning deliveries, so I could put that time in here and then save. And now Bob is going to be added to the list, Bob Superior, of volunteers that are here for me. And then now I can select Bob when I'm doing that delivery planner and assign routes to him. And that's how the adding volunteers to Delivery Angel works. So first, make sure they're a contact in your system, add them as a contact, and then you can go into the Manage Volunteers for Delivery Angel and select the volunteer from that list of contacts in your system. The other configuration piece are all these pieces here on the meal planner. So we can go in, we could do participating chefs. So if you want to indicate the names of the chefs who are preparing the food for your clients, these are adult chefs. If you have any teen chefs, you could configure those as well. We can edit or delete any of these names off of our list. We can add additional people to the list by just going in and typing in a name. This person does not have to be in your system, and doing this does not add them as a contact in your system. So we could say and then we can say if this person is an adult or a teen, and I can save and add an additional person, or I can just save and close out of here. And now Mary is on my list. I can go in and I can indicate my recipes, and again, these are used for the configure packages in the meal planner. I have categories. I can add additional food categories if I wanted. So trying to think, I could call breads. How many servings for accounting purposes when preparing this bread. And I can save and add additional category, and I can save and close now. So now I've got bread will now show up, and I can actually drag and reorder these to change the order that they appear. And now I can add a recipe, or I can add a recipe from here. If I add a recipe from here, it'll ask me for the category. So I could add a bread, and then I could say wheat bread. And then here's that dietary restrictions I was talking about before. So I could say, for instance, this is no good for any of those allergies. And then down here, the recipe preparation steps. You can be as detailed or as loosey-goosey as you want. I mean, you could be like 2 cups of whole wheat flour, half a cup of milk, 1 packet yeast, half a teaspoon of salt, half a cup of sugar, etc. And you could go through and list all the ingredients, and then, or you could actually just say, and I'll mix the flour and yeast and sugar and warm milk and eggs and let rise for 2 hours, you know, or whatever. You can copy and paste into here as well. So if you have your recipes like in Word or from the internet or something, you could just copy and paste them into here. Or you can leave this blank if you don't want to get this detailed or don't need to, then you can do that. And then I could save and add another recipe, or I could save and close out of here. And then now under breads, I have my wheat bread. And then I could go through and I can hover over this view, and then I can also see a list of clients who have gotten this food item before. And then I can just keep adding recipes. So again, I've got to pre-configure these recipes and add recipes for every food item I ever plan on delivering. And then I can select those inside the configure packages for which days they're going to be delivered. And then on the meal planner, I can select which packages will get delivered to which client. My Angel preferences, so these are my volunteers. So their preferences, I can go in and I can click Add, select actually type my angel name. So we just had, what was it, Bob Supreme, I think? Oh, Bob Superior, there we go, Bob Superior. And then I could say that, something like that, or, or maybe can only work the first Monday of the month, whatever is Bob's deal. And then I could save and add additional preferences for other angels, or I could save and close, or I could cancel without saving. Oh, that's funny. Why did it not find Bob? There we go. Okay, not sure why I didn't like that the first time, but then I could go in and I can edit these preferences, or I could delete these preferences. So if something changes and this is no longer true, I could just delete this right out of here. It doesn't delete my angel, it just deletes this note about this angel's preferences. Next, we have the supplemental products. So we can go in and we can indicate which ones of these are offered weekly and which of these are occasional. We can go in and edit and delete any of these. We can add new ones by going in, giving it a name. So we could call this, let's see, and I could call this an ongoing weekly, one serving, and then any notes about it, save and add any additional products, save and close or cancel, so save and close. And I indicated that that was a weekly, and now that fish oil shows up here on this list. So I could keep adding, and again, these will be configurable and addable to the client intake record as things that they should get, and then also to the package configuration of items that you can select to add in and make available to clients for any given delivery date. Closure reasons. This is reasons of why clients are ending service. So this is a list of options, and then you can add additional ones. You're just going to give it a name and then save it, and then it'll show up on the list. Under dietary restrictions, this is where we can add additional options to our list of dietary restrictions. We can edit or delete any of these. We can see which recipes are no good for this. So my chicken noodle soup apparently has almonds in it, and so people should not have that. And I can see a list of clients who have this dietary restriction. Doesn't seem like anybody has that one. I know some people have gluten. This one. Maybe it was egg that I gave Alex. I know I gave Alex something. Okay, so Adelaide and Adriana here can't have eggs. So any recipes that contain eggs or that I have indicated don't work for eggs when I do that recipe setup, Adelaide and Adriana, those food items will not even appear on their meal planner list. And you saw that in action when I was configuring. And for Alex, he didn't have those spinach bites available. I can add additional dietary restrictions by clicking the plus button and then just give it a name. And then that will be added to my list that I can select on client records and in the recipe planner. And then under diagnoses, I can add to this list. Again, I can edit or delete, and then I can add a new one, and then it'll just give me basically a text box, and I can add to this text box. And then finally, the last piece, labels and letters. These are the labels to stick on the food items with the instructions to your clients about which they should eat first, or if it freezes well, and the ingredients and who prepared it. And then letters telling the clients about the chef and the food items that are in their package. So for each date when there's going to be a delivery, I can configure my labels and letters. I have one set up for 12/12 here. If I want to set up a new one, I'm going to click on the configure. I'm going to pick my date, so we just did 12/19. I can include the list of chefs who prepared the food. I'm selecting my clients that I want to prepare the letters first and my labels first for. So I can do that. I could have selected this little box to select everybody. Then on step 2, I'm going to select which chefs prepared the food on 12/19, so of my list of chefs. So maybe Anne prepared the food with help of a youth chef. Then on my next step, I'm actually going to be able to print my labels and letters. So here's the clients. I can select print letter, This will print the letters that will be given to the clients. It's going to run this in a PDF, so I'm going to click OK. And it's going to open this up, and you'll be able to see here the client name, their address, the food items they're getting. It'll tell them which ones they should eat first and which freeze well, their supplemental product that they're getting, who the chef was. And then as I scroll down, now Mr. Adriana's letter, then Alex's letter, and then finally Adelaide's letter. And then I would just print these, and then I would add these to the food packages. I can print labels. These are labels that will go on the foods. I can specify the starting position of these labels. So if I'm using a brand new sheet, position 1. If you're using like a half sheet, like the top half is gone because you've used those and you're starting from like the middle, then you're going to count down, and these print down then across, so you need to count down and then put in the starting position. So if you're starting in like the 3rd row, then you would put like a 3 here, right? If you're starting with the first one on the left-hand side, it would be down the 3rd label. So then I think this uses like Avery 5160, whatever, like the small, like I think it's the 1 inch by 2.5 inch labels, but that I don't know for certain. And then this also opens in Word. You cannot make it PDF. You cannot make any changes to the labels. But as you'll see, these print down because what it's first doing is doing apple pie, apple pie, apple pie. So it's not going per person because you'll notice it's Adrienne and then Adriana's here and then Adriana's here again. So it's not alphabetical by client. It's alphabetical by food item, and then it's apple pie, then chicken noodle, chicken noodle, chicken noodle, chicken noodle, fruit salad. So that's why I was saying when you're calculating the starting position, count down, and then you can figure out which label number you're at. So these you would peel off and you stick them on all your food items to tell your clients what's in each box or container. And then finally, close this tab, print supplemental label. And these are the labels that will go on your supplemental food items. So same thing, where do you want to start? It's a PDF, open this up, and then it's going to print down, then across, and it's going to go, okay, this one's milkshake, milkshake, iron booster brownie, and then these, we would just peel these off and stick these on the containers. And then that is it. So those are all your configurations. So before working in your meal module, you want to make sure you've got your chef set up, your recipe set up, you've added volunteers to your Delivery Angel volunteer opportunity, and then you can set up their preferences. You can configure your supplemental products, your closure reasons, your dietary restrictions, diagnoses. Then you can go in and add clients and do client intake. And then as you know what foods you're preparing each day, you can configure packages. And then once you've configured packages, you can configure the meal planner, what foods each client is going to get each day. And then finally you can go in and configure your delivery planner and who's delivering to each client on each date. And there you go.